This is 10 rules for making sure that your letter and written communications gets read. The best letter and communications in the world is of no use to you if someone doesn't bother to read it. Rule number 1, avoid big blocks of type. Don't have big long paragraphs. Paragraphs should be at the most 4 to 5 lines long. If they're longer, break them up into 2 paragraphs. Rule number 2, don't justify the right margin. You know how newspapers have really crisp columns? You don't want that. You want the right margin to be ragged. It just gives a hook for people to feel that it's more inviting to read it. Rule number 3, similarly, white space is your friend. Your letter should have plenty of white space. The margin should be big enough. There should be space between the paragraphs. Never do single space between the lines. Rule number 4, font legibility. Please use a legible font. I think it's much better to use a serif font like a Times New Roman or a Garamond. Serif has those little tiny ends on the letters. Research has shown that it improves legibility. You can certainly use a sans serif font like Arial or Helvetica for subheads and for emphasis. Rule number 5, it's not time to get creative with fonts. Don't use a whole bunch of different fonts in your letter. Really keep it simple, and don't use like the goofy fonts that have little curly cues or italics or anything that adds to it, that makes it more difficult for someone to read. Rule number 6, use bullets. Boom, boom, boom. I love bullets, right? Easy way to have a list that is going to stand out. And bullets just sort of are like road markers that help you go through the letter. I mean, you don't go crazy, but if you have a little list of 3 to 4 and you use bullets, it can really help make the letter feel scannable. Rule number 7, easy to use language. Use shorter words. If you can use the word use instead of the word utilize, go that way. Don't use $5 words when you can use simple ones. Rule number 8, use the reader's very favorite word. If your letter is full of I and we and the church, go back in and figure out ways to change your perspective so you're using the word you. You is the reader's favorite word. You and your. You want the reader to feel brought in, pulled into the letter from the very start. Rule number 9, one human writing to another human. Personalize the letters. You can use mail merge in a word processing program, which will work with your database to drop that in. If you can't do that, and you have to print out a letter that says Dear Parishioner, then somebody should go through and cross out parishioner and in blue ink write the person's name. And letter should be signed, again signed in blue ink, so it looks like it actually was signed. I mean, you could hand sign it in black ink and it's going to look like it was copied. Let's see, how long is too long? Rule number 10. The real rule is long enough. Don't feel that you have to keep your letter to 1 page. All these rules I've just talked about may well push you into 2 or maybe even 3 pages. Your letter should be long enough to get your content out, to communicate your content with all of these, with tricks used to make it feel interesting and compelling and have somebody want to keep on reading. So I think it is actually much more important to have the right content and an appealing, easy to read format. So I hope this is helpful, and that's 10 rules that will help make your letter easier to read. But I'll add a bonus tip. Number 11, use a PS. Direct mail research has shown that what people look at is who's the letter addressed to, who signed the letter, and the third thing they look at is PS. So don't forget the PS. Thanks.